Today's tutorial is all about winter illustration. We'll draw penguins, snowflakes, and more. Hi guys, I'm Shayda, and on this channel I teach art like hand lettering, illustration, and watercolor. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. And today's video is kindly sponsored by Storyblocks. They are a stock image site with a huge amount of high quality photos, vectors, icons, and audio tracks. So all of the images that you're going to see used in today's tutorial are from Storyblocks. Now they have over 400,000 images in their member library, and as a member you can download anything you like. And right now you guys can try this for free. They're giving away 7 days free. So just click the link in the video description and grab a penguin and illustrate along with me. Well, grab a picture of a penguin. So I am downloading this photo, and that's what I used to draw this little image from. Now, I haven't mentioned that these winter illustrations are meant to also serve as the final illustrations for our 2017 calendar. So if you're giving the calendar as a gift this Christmas, I know we started late in March, these winter illustrations are sort of meant to give you some inspiration to finish off the January and February pages if you want to. Okay, so to start the snow globe, I always start with a cross. That just helps me, it's like a grid. It helps me keep things balanced and looking equal on both sides so that I don't have this wonky snow globe. So I've got my cross, and then I'm just drawing the shape of the snow globe, and you could do a little guy like this, or you could do a really round one. And at the base I'll put a little title on there, South Pole Vacation or something like that. So the shape of the snow globe comes together pretty simply, and you can have some fun with that. Then to draw the penguin, I always start with this sort of lumpy egg shape. I use that for a lot of birds, and I put these two little arm-like wings off to the side. He's got a beak just sort of in the middle of his head there, and two little eyes on each side of the beak. And of course I'm finishing him with some earmuffs and some very nondescript flipper-like feet. Now let me go over him in pen so you can sort of see what's going on here, but this is very general. I've sort of just given the basics of what a penguin might look like, and you could really play around with these basics and see what you like and see what works for you in terms of the illustration. Now let's take a glance back at the photo for a second, because what I want to convey is that you can use a photo, however realistic, to make an illustration however whimsical. You just want to capture some details like those chubby little wings or the tiny head, and that helps you to create your fun illustration. In addition to illustrating this penguin, I've also used the stock image to create some fun graphics. Stock images like these are invaluable if you run a small business like a podcast or an Airbnb and you need media. So if you would like to try Storyblocks, just click the link in the description below to get started with your 7-day free trial. That concludes our little penguin sketch. He looks sexy, he looks chubby, and let me show you another one that I drew. He looks different and yet somehow the same because I drew him. I love seeing the way you guys change these illustrations. I love seeing your drawings on social media, so keep posting them. I'm transferring this guy onto my sketch pad here using graphite transfer paper, and then of course I'm just going over it with my Pigma Micron. So with this illustration I've done things just a little differently. I've done that round snow globe, and of course the penguin is sitting down. He's sort of chubby. I guess the other one's chubby too. But you can see how a few small decisions leads to a very different illustration. And next I'm doing some winter trees. For the trees I'm just doing some really basic tree shapes. I just wanted to propose another sort of wintry idea, which would be these trees. So for this one I start with the sort of the trunk and the stem, and then you just make this sort of bubbly shape coming out to represent the leaves. And then I'll show you how I do the pine tree on the other side. With my pencil I draw a line straight down, and then I just do these pairs of triangles going out, and they do not have to be equal or perfectly aligned. You want it to be sort of wonky and whimsical. And then once I've done the pencil sketch, I just go over it in pen. Now the tree illustrations are fairly simple. You can finish them off with some little snowflakes or whatnot. But what I want to show here is that when we color in all 3 of these illustrations, we're going to work within a certain color palette, and I think the color palette is what leads to the success of this illustration. So I've got some art markers here, and I'm going to lay out my color palette before I even begin coloring the illustration. I'm using 3 different shades of blue, sort of a minty blue, and then a light blue and a dark blue. I've got 2 different colors of gray, dark gray, light gray, and I have a red for that really nice accent color. And choosing a palette before you start will really help you lead you to success with your illustrations. I really believe that, whether you're working in gouache, watercolor, or marker, pencil, crayon, it just allows you to think more like an illustrator and a designer, and you'll have this very cohesive look in the end. You can see as I work these illustrations and color them in that they're all going to look like they belong together, like they're part of one whole, and in that way I've sort of developed a series of winter illustrations. And that's because I've thought through my color palette ahead of time. If you were going to do a book, you could illustrate a book in just these colors. Even though it's limited, it leads you to this very cohesive and thoughtful finished product. For our earmuffed penguin, I will use that accent color, that bright red, on just his earmuffs, and I may not use it anywhere else, but it wouldn't be the same without that pop of red. So think about when you do think of your color palette, using some color, some bright color or contrasting color to add that little something extra. And I'm just going to use my chisel-tipped art marker here to give a little background for those trees. The chisel-tipped art markers are great for laying down those washes of color. I'm going to finish these illustrations by using a white gel pen to put a little snow in my snow globes and on my snowflakes. And here you're going to see me just draw. I just wanted to sketch out a few little snowflakes. I thought that's another fun idea. You could work it sort of like the trees, just illustrate a bunch of snowflakes and put a wash of color in the background, and you've got sort of this fun wintry illustration. And I also used the Storyblocks images to help me with my ideas for snowflake shapes. Okay, and the last thing we're going to illustrate is that wintry cabin, the snow-covered cabin, and you're going to start by doing sort of a triangular prism, sort of that open tent shape, and that will be the roof of the house. That's probably the most important part. I'm going to switch to pen here so you guys can see. Once you've got that roof shape in place, then you can come in with your pen and do these, icicles hanging off and make it almost this gooky looking surface because of all the snow. You could place a little chimney somewhere along the roof there with smoke coming out. For this illustration, all your lines are very soft and bulbous because of the snow, because of the smoke, so it's a lot of fun to draw. And you can draw a line coming down from each corner of the roof here to represent the sides of the house, and then those lines are going to be met by, again, these big lumpy piles of snow. And this illustration is all about the negative space, so those lines don't actually have to go anywhere because snow is white and the page is white, so we're working with negative space. I'm drawing a little door here on the front of the house, and you can add any details you like, such as windows or maybe a wreath. And then I'm also going to illustrate some little footprints in the snow here. For this illustration, I'm going to use a different color palette, and I'm going to use my icy blue art marker to add that a little bit of depth to the snow. So just adding a little wash of blue, not going overboard with it. Same with the smoke, just a little bit of gray. And that's what it looks like when it's all done. I had a lot of fun with that snowy cabin. And remember, guys, you can try Storyblocks for yourself. Just click the link in the description of this video and try it for 7 days for free. It's a great resource to have if you need images, say for a YouTube video, for making a thumbnail or whatever. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the winter illustration, and I hope that you feel this has sort of summed up our 2017 calendars, as I did start late. This should give you some fun illustrative ideas for those January and February pages. Don't forget to subscribe, please leave me a comment, and I will see you Friday with a new tutorial.